fellow shelteries, it is cheap meat week, and just because meat is cheap doesn't mean that it can't be delicious. And so today we are talking about butts, which oddly enough comes from the shoulder. And so we obviously are talking about pork. And so today we are going to be taking this pork shoulder or this pork butt and we're going to be smoking it because we're going to make some delicious pulled pork. Now, one of the things I love about pork shoulders is the fact that it is incredibly cheap. This right here is an 8-pound shoulder. I got it for about $20, maybe a little bit under $20. And you might be wondering, how am I going to eat 8 pounds of pork? Well, you probably can't unless you're some kind of food eating champion. But one of the best things about pork shoulder or pork butt, when you do it pulled pork, you can actually put it in a Ziploc bag, you can food save it, and you can put barbecue sauce on it, and it is going to make great pulled pork tacos later. It will make great pulled pork pizza later. Just put it in the freezer, pull it out when you're ready, warm it up, and just put it on top of whatever it is that you are trying to make. Now, one of the things I learned about cheaper cuts of meat is that it's not necessarily the quality or the taste, it's all in the preparation. And so cheaper cuts of meat do really well when you cook it low and slow, which is one of my favorite things, because you can put it in the oven for a few hours, you can put it in your crock pot, you can put it in your pressure cooker, you can put it in your smoker, and you can leave it for a few hours, and when you come back, it is completely tender and delicious. And so pulled pork was my introduction into low and slow cooking. I would put it in a crock pot, cover it in soda, put some onions in there, salt and pepper, and after 12 hours, the meat fell apart, covered it in barbecue sauce, and made little pulled pork sliders, and it was awesome. But then my friend Tim introduced me to smoked pulled pork, and I was completely hooked. My first couple pulled pork attempts on the smoker didn't go so well, but then I finally figured it out, and it's incredibly easy. And so that is what we're gonna show you how to do today. Okay, I've got my Traeger smoker warming up to 275. In the meantime, let's get this pork shoulder ready. But first things first, coffee. Now, there's a couple different ways that you can get the seasoning to stick. If you just do salt and pepper on top of this, it's totally fine, but I like it when there's just a little bit of something that kind of helps hold all of the seasoning on top of this pulled pork. And so I am going to use today Worcestershire sauce, or however you say this. Just gonna cover it very lightly. I've seen some people use mustard, works just fine. Let's do it. Okay, you can see it. It is ready to go on the smoker. Okay, so my pork shoulder is on the smoker, and now it is gonna smoke for about 5 hours, and then we're gonna wrap it in butcher paper. All right, it's been a few hours since we started smoking, and it's time for me to use this instant read thermometer to get the temperature on our pulled pork. So far it looks pretty amazing, and you can see it's got like a nice little bark on it, and we're gonna see what the temperature is right now. 156, which is really good because when it hits 160, I'm gonna wrap this thing in butcher paper. You see all that awesome bark on there? It's ready to get wrapped up. Let's do it. Okay, we have it all wrapped up, and the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put a thermometer just right through the meaty part, and we're gonna keep an eye out for the rest of the cook. Okay, so it's been a couple hours, and now it is at 198 degrees, which is close enough to be done. So what I'm gonna do now is pull this shoulder off the Traeger, and I'm going to put it in a Dutch oven, and I'm gonna let it rest in the Dutch oven inside of my other oven for about 2 hours. Okay, so we started sweating some grilled onions to go with our pulled pork sandwiches, and the pulled pork has been sitting inside this Dutch oven, and it is super hot still, but it is ready to get pulled apart. The butcher paper did its work. It saved all of that delicious pork, and now we are just going to have to pull it. And the way that you can really know if your pulled pork is ready is there is a shoulder bone right on the inside of this meat right here, and it should just come free. So you see the meat, it's delicious. There it is. Final pulled pork. And we're gonna turn these things into sandwiches. But first, we're gonna see what Maui thinks. Maui, nicely, nicely.
What do you think? No, I think Maui likes it.